Welcome back, guys, and today we have another sports car history, but today it's not a specific car like the Delta Wing, but it's a team, and this has been the most dominant LMP team in the 2000s so far, and it's my personal favorite at Le Mans. Today, we have Racing Nation TV joining us.
It's also my favorite team, so how fitting that I'm here to join on the occasion.
Gee, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're going to start out in the year 1999 when Audi debuted. So, Porsche had won Le Mans in 1998 and then withdrew their entry. So, Volkswagen Group, they still had a factory team in there along the lines of Audi Sport Team Jost, who Reinhold Jost had supported Porsche for many, many years, as a lot of people know. And they went over to really the sister brand once Porsche withdrew. And Audi's competition this year was pretty much Toyota, Mercedes, and BMW, which all very good competitors, and we can make as many jokes about that we won about 99, including Toyota's major blowout and Mercedes flipping good time. See what I did there?
Yeah, quite clearly.
Yeah, they had a really flipping good time. So good that they actually decided to withdraw their entries before dinner time so they could relax at Lasarth. But
Yeah,
anyways,
they wanted to party early. That.
yeah, they just said screw the race. So Audi entered with two different types of chassis and two teams. The open top cars would be the Audi Sport Team Jost, featuring cars number 7 and 8, the roadsters per se. And then also Audi Sport UK fielded cars number 8 and 9. Or wait, 9 and 10, sorry. The Audi R8 coupes. Since Audi did not really know which car to go to, so they decided to run both and see which one placed the best. Unfortunately, both R8Cs went out before midnight, but the R8Rs managed to place quite well in third and fourth. So, after this embarrassment that Audi called it at Le Mans 99, they decided to redevelop their car. And for some facts about the 2000 through 2005 spec Audi R8, here is Racing Nation TV.
Well, I mean, I only have like a couple facts for you. It was powered by a V8. I don't know how many liters the engine was. Turbo V8.
I think it was a 5.2 liter.
It wasn't diesel at the time. That's a little bit later down the road. We'll get to that. And also, the chassis was built, or the car itself was built by Lara, which is the same manufacturer that, as you might know, develops the Indy cars nowadays. So that's just sort of a random fact thrown in there.
Also, Dolores still makes the Audi chassis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they ran with the FSI power, as it was called, and that's the same branding as they still use on the R8 LMSs. So they won Le Mans 2000. Really, they didn't have any factory competitors since Toyota, Mercedes, and BMW all withdrew to F1. Now we're seeing how that's turning out for F1 nowadays because it's pretty messed up. Yeah, we're going to let that one soak in there. The biggest competitors were really the Bentley guys, which the Bentleys ran the old R8C, the old coupe from 99. And it was actually Audi Sport UK fielding that car. And the reason that they was able to run that chassis was because Bentley is a part of the Volkswagen Group along with Audi and Porsche. So it was a sister brand running almost a sister car with an identical engine to the R8. So in the year 2000, 2001, and 2002, Audi Sport Team Jost all won the races with, ironically, the same highlighted red accented car. Usually it would feature Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro, or what Marco Werner. Two of those guys, I know for sure. They went on a stretch of 3 Le Mans wins for Team Jost. In the year 2003, however, Audi Sport Team Jost withdrew their factory entry from Le Mans, and only customer Audis were run. However, the Bentley still ran as Bentley Sport, but really it was Audi Sport UK. So as for that, Bentley was able to take home the win that year over several different customer entries from Audi. Audi still managed to get on the podium, however. So that's currently 4 years in a row that Audi's been on the podium at least. Now, in the year 2004, Bentley Motorsport had withdrawn, and Audi Sport UK had reformed and ran with the R8s with these purple and silver liveried cars. Another team that ran, or other teams, notable teams that ran the R8 were Orica. Yes, the Orica that runs Toyota Motorsport now. Um, also, Champion Racing, and then the eventual winners in 2004, the Audi Sport Japan, also known as Navi Team Go. In the year 2005, after many years of dominance, the FIA cracked down on the Audi even further after several years ago, or several years prior, they banned the complete replacement of the back end of the car, which Audi had developed in 2000. I wonder why, right? Yeah, they could literally pull the
Gotta knock them when they're up.
Yeah, seriously, they literally could pull the entire rear end of the car off and replace it in 15 to 20 minutes. And the FIA banned that because it's an unfair advantage. I can see why they did that. But
That's
as
not
for
an unfair That's not an unfair advantage. That's just a properly developed
race car.
Yeah, it's just a properly developed race car.
So, as for 2005, Audi's nearest competitors now was Pescarolo Sport. And Audi still did not run a factory car per se, but they had Champion Racing, which would later become Audi Sport Team Yost. Or wait, Audi Sport North America. Sorry. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning when we're recording this, FYI. So if I mess up, it's his fault. So the cars were heavily restricted, and they had major weight increases of 125 pounds, which made it extremely difficult for the Audis to even get around GT1 cars. And actually, I remember from the 2005 race, watching it, that they even had issues getting around the Corvettes. So it was a major issue, but they eventually prevailed, however, with Pescarolo having issues with their radiators and overheating issues throughout the race, which was, again, major issues. So, also welcome back Racing Nation TV after more issues.
Yep.
We're
1:45 a.m. technical difficulties. No biggie.
Yeah, but we're going to keep plugging along. So, Audi knew that eventually the FIA was going to crack down and make their car even more obsolete than it technically was already. Don't get me wrong, the R8 was a great race car. However, it was just made obsolete by the FIA. So, for the year 2006, there was a new rule in place that headlights had to be on the Le Mans prototypes at all times throughout the race. But Audi had a new challenger for this, and it debuted at the 2006 12 Hours of Sebring, and it was the Audi R10 TDI. Do you have any specs on the R10?
It was the first Audi and first Le Mans prototype, for that matter, that ran on diesel power.
No, it wasn't. Not the first Le Mans prototype. There had been other ones, but they failed.
Oh, whatever. The first successful Le Mans winning diesel Le Mans prototype. There you go. It also had a V12. Again, I don't know how big the engine was exactly. I think it was still twin turbocharged, and I think it was probably one of my favorite looking Audi Le Mans prototypes to date still. Great looking open cockpit car.
And also, this is the first car that I seen compete at Le Mans, and my first Le Mans where I paid attention in 2006. So, the Audis were pretty much painted all silver in 2006, and they were referred to as the Silver Bullets. I guess, they may have gotten the Silver Arrow thing from Mercedes has from that, I guess. I don't know. However, they looked very good. They were very sleek. And here's the thing, though. They were very quiet and very fast. And they blew Pescarolo away, with the 8 car winning the race by quite a few laps. It's a very considerable distance between the first and second, with Audi coming back in third place after mechanical issues for the 7 car throughout the evening and morning hours. For 2007, Audi decided to enter a third car into Le Mans to counteract the new challenge of Peugeot Sport and their Peugeot 908, which was announced in 2005. This car was very fast, the Peugeot, that is, and it actually grabbed the Le Mans pole 4 times in a row. So from 2007 to 2010, they had a pole streak, and more specifically, Sebastian Bourdais did.
It's worth noting also that the 908 HDI also had a V12 diesel or turbo diesel.
In 2007 was a very notable for being a rain-soaked race. Also, 2008 was as well. Audi has always been superior in the rain, no matter who the opponent was. And let's put it this way: in 2007, Peugeot had a lot of teething issues with their car. The number 8 car had to be pushed in the garage for, well, several times during the race to solve mechanical issues, and the 7 car dropped out in the early morning hours altogether with an engine failure. However, Audi did not run a clean race either, as their number 3 car had crashed early on in the race in Tete Rouge, and young Mike Rockenfeller, an up-and-coming star through Audi's LMP program, was at the wheel at the time, and he tried for a good 45 minutes to get that car back, but the marshals insisted that he just stopped. The number 2 car, which was leading by 3 laps over the sister number 1 car, who had fallen back in the evening after clipping a Corvette and required new bodywork. The number 2 car, however, had an interesting accident with Dindo Capello behind the wheel. The back wheel came off heading into Indianapolis, and it went nose first into the tires, which spelled the end of the race for them. So only 1 Audi and 1 Peugeot finished. However, this did make way for Pescarolo to gain an overall podium position. Now, the interesting point about this is this is the last time that we would see a non-diesel car on the podium until the year 2013, when Toyota managed to score second place. For 2008, there was a few modifications made to the Audi R10, mainly in the terms of aero bits. Going into Le Mans 2008, Audi was the underdog, as Peugeot had developed their car even further and made their car more superior than the R10 in straight line speed, to the tune of 3 seconds a lap around Le Mans, an 8-mile circuit, of course. However, the tune of the 2008 Le Mans race went sort of like this: Peugeot went away, Peugeot took the lead and ran with it. However, the fastest of the Peugeots, the number 8 car, and also the pole sitter, had a mechanical issue in the early evening hours. The 7 and 9 Peugeots still managed to take the pace and run with it, while the 2 car managed to gain the lead on pit stops cycles only. However, when it came to the early morning hours of the early morning hours of the race, all 3 Peugeots had to go into the garage to get their radiators blown out after excessive debris had collected on track. The number 9 car also had an issue in the early stage of the race, as it needed its nose replaced after a headlight failure, which in the Le Mans rules since 2006 stated that both lights had to be on at all times, which is a fair rule technically on the headlights, but the side lights, kind of a stupid rule there. But
Yeah, I mean,
anyways, in the early morning hours, just past halfway, the rain started to fall, and the running order was 7 Peugeot, 2 Audi, and the 9 Peugeot, 3 and 1 Audis. The Audi was able to take advantage in the rain and grab the lead from the number 7 car, but not being able to advance it out more than a minute throughout the entire race. This battle would go on till just about an hour to go, when it started to rain again, and the Peugeot decided to make the fatal decision to go to dry tire, or stay with dry tires instead of go with intermediate like the Audi. This worked terribly for Peugeot and Frank, because the car spun heading into the Dunlop curves, which is a very early portion of the track. Like, that's right after pit out. And they also lost the tire, and they had to limp around, and they lost the lap. So that pretty much handed the victory in '08 to Audi, and the R10 was undefeated at Le Mans, and it still stands as the only car undefeated at Le Mans built by Audi, which is an interesting fact. So Audi also managed to get 4th and 6th place during that race. The other 2 cars managed to have some issues, but Peugeot got 2nd and 3rd. As for 2009, Audi had completely developed a new car with the R15. Do you have any specs on the R15?
With the R15, I know they went to a V10. Um, the nose on the original R15 was very ugly.
They can
Uh,
actually see the iterations of all the cars.
it looked like that old 2004 Williams F1 Walrus nose, as they called it. That's what it reminds me of. Um, but overall, it was a faster car than the R10, so they could definitely keep the pace up with Peugeot, and that was shown at the 2009 12 Hours of Sebring when they won that race.
However,
But at Le Mans, it was just
there was
issues that cost them.
there was one fatal flaw with the R15, and that was the radiators on it. So as for 2009, Audi had walked into Le Mans with one issue, and that was Peugeot was protesting the design of their car, and one design element in particular, which was two carbon fiber pieces pointing inwards. They were right by the Michelin logos per se. You've seen them. They're two little carbon fiber chunks. I guess that's the best way to put it. Um, Pointing inwards, and they were used to generate downforce. Now, ironically, if you want to know something about what I'm talking about, all you have to do is look on the Ligier JSP2, and it actually has a very similar part on the low downforce setup, the Le Mans setup per se. So anyways, going into Le Mans 2009, Peugeot once again had grabbed the pole. Audi, however, managed to grab second with Christensen, Capello, McNish, the defending champions from the year prior. Tom Christensen was looking for his ninth win. Alan McNish was looking for his third win, and Dino Capello was looking for his fifth win. So, Le Mans 2009 is a race that many Audi fans want to forget because it just did not go well. On the third lap of the race, the 3 Audi crashed and damaged the car, and the 3 car had many issues during that race. It went off numerous times, as well as it had to have the engine pulled out of it several times. That car featured actually Porsche factory drivers Romain Dumas and Timo Bernard, as well as Mike Rockenfeller, actually. Or was Rocky in the 2 car?
I think Rocky was in the one. No, Rocky wasn't in the 1 car, was he?
No, that was
No,
Christian.
Rocky was in the 3 car, and
Werner.
I think Alexander Prema was too.
No, Prima was in the. No, it was Bernard. It was Timo Bernard, Romain Dumas, and Harold Permet. He was the one who put it off in the gravel the first time. Rockenfeller was in the 2 car with Werner and one other.
I have no idea because Bila retired in 08.
And so did Pirro.
Hero.
So yeah, Marco Werner stayed on board and teamed with Mike Rockenfeller and one other in 2009. The 2 car, however, crashed out in the early evening almost at sunset, and their day was done. So that pretty much left the number 1 Audi to face on effectively 4, well, actually technically 3 Peugeots, because the 7 car was clipped by the 17 car and fell many laps down early on to get repairs done after a tire pretty much shredded the back end of the car up. So, yeah, that was pretty bad. And then it was down to 2 after Benoit Troyuet driving a Peugeot. Just does not sound right, does it?
No.
It really doesn't. Had a
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt. There was Lucas Luhr in the number 2 with Werner and Rockenfeller.
And also, here's a note. This is the last year that Lucas Luhr would drive with Audi Sport, as he would actually go on to focus on with the American Le Mans Series and Muscle Milk Picket Racing, which was very successful. So Ben Troyuet had a very, very bad crash, but also Audi had 2 other cars, so they had a grand total of 5 cars in that year. The R10s were still intact. They were modified, including a different rear wing, which I don't know what was up with the rear wing in those couple years, but whatever. They had a modified version of the R10, and those were run by Collis Racing. Does that sound familiar? By Collis?
Yep, the team that runs now, and
The
LMP1 Privateer.
CLMs. Yeah, the pretty much the other team next to Rebellion Racing. But anyways, and that featured a future Audi Sport factory driver of Andre Loiter.
Lauderer.
Loiter.
Lauderer.
Lauder. I know how it's said. I just wanted to see if you caught it.
Oh, all right.
That's the way
Okay.
Eurosport says it. Loiter.
Loiterer? Well, they're wrong.
He just loiters. Anyways, as for the year 2009, the best they did was third place, which again continues their streak of podium finishes. There was one other time it came in really bad danger, and however they managed to squeak by with it. So as for 2010, they completely reworked the R15. They pretty much kept the same basic structure front of the front nose, but just sort of trimmed it down by a lot. You can see some similarities in it actually. And they reworked the side, and they came up with the R15 Plus. However, for the first time since the year 2006, Audi was not bearing number 1 or 2 or 3 on their flank. They were bearing number 7, 8, and 9. At Le Mans 2010, Audi got their redemption in a big fashion. The Peugeots, which seemed to set the pace throughout the entire weekend, eventually all broke down. In the early hours of the race, the third Peugeot, which featured hometown hero Sebastian Bourdais, went out when a wishbone pulled out of the tub. In the early morning hours, the race dominating number 2 Peugeot actually had an engine failure and had fire puking out the exhaust. And then eventually later in the race, Marc Genet also had the same issue. In the late going, however, the fourth Peugeot, run by Orica, was pushing to try to catch the 7 Audi and get a third place finish. However, that went up in smoke, literally, and that car had an engine failure, leaving Audi with a 1-2-3 finish. But this was not the only Audis, as this would be the last year we would also see the Audi R10 TDI. Which is sad. It was really the end of an era right there. But this also featured another future Audi Sport factory driver after Andre Lauderer had been called up to drive the 8 Audi. This would also feature Oliver Jarvis in that car. Which, good for him. So as for 2011, new specs stated that all diesel-powered LMP1s must feature a rear fin and a closed cockpit. This would mark the end of the open-top cars winning at Le Mans in the overall category. So as for this, both Audi and Peugeot came up with new cars. Peugeot did a major revamp of their 908. This would be the first time that we'd ever see, or this would be the first and the last time that we'd see Peugeot alter their chassis in a major way. And also there was a fourth Peugeot run by Orica once again, which won the 12 Hours of Sebring, ironically.
Yeah, because Peugeot had issues with their second generation, I guess you could call it, 908 at Sebring. And Audi, Audi was running the R15 still because the R18 wasn't ready yet, so...
It was dubbed the R15 Plus Plus.
Yeah.
So, the R18 had some teething issues in the first couple of races of the ILMC, which lasted a year. Literally.
Yep.
So, anyways, at Le Mans, this would be the last year that we'd see Peugeot, and this would be a well-known Le Mans because not only did it feature the Truth in 24-2, but also because Audi had 2 major accidents with 2 Ferraris. The first off, the number 3 car at the end of the first hour was making a run at the number 1 Audi for the lead of the race when he sort of made a bad move and clipped the luxury racing Ferrari, and it sent him flying. Literally. And that was a bad crash. Everyone was afraid, but everyone was okay, surprisingly, especially the photographers.
Yeah, there was a tire that came down, almost hit one of the photographers.
And the photographer didn't even notice.
Yeah, that was that was one of the scariest accidents I've seen, mostly just because of the spectators. They all got so lucky.
Yeah, no spectators got hurt, and Alan McNish walked from the car, and he'd return to the circuit later that night. As for later on in the race, just about 11 o'clock at night, when the sun was finally going down, because they have very long days there at Le Mans, Mike Rockefeller had a very, very big crash with the AF Waltrip Corsa car. Yes, it was Michael Waltrip's Ferrari. And here's a fun fact:
What?
Michael Waltrip,
Michael Waltrip?
Michael Waltrip ran at Le Mans. Michael
I'd bet.
Waltrip Racing ran at Le Mans twice.
So did Brian Vickers.
Yes, Brian Vickers ran in 2012. Yes, Michael Waltrip Racing ran at Le Mans twice in partnership with AF Corsa.
All the NASCAR fans are happy for that one.
Yeah, I remember the pre-race interview. Hi to my family at home.
Oh, hey, with Justin Bell.
Yeah. Can I say hi to my family at home? No. I knew that there was racing elsewhere in the world, but the invention of the internet and Speed TV confirmed it, and so here we are. That was, good advertisement right there.
That was a really funny interview.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect? It's Justin Bell. Remember, Justin Bell, not to go off topic here, but Justin Bell managed to disappear at Le Mans this year. He went missing, and they actually got worried about him.
I remember that. I tweeted to them I tweeted to Speed on Twitter, and I said, "Where's the Justin Bell fan crowd video?"
And it's like, well, we haven't heard
They said they didn't know where he was.
We haven't heard from Justin Bell in a couple hours. I think
anyways,
we're kind of worried about it. But anyways, for 2011, it was effectively 4 Peugeots versus 1 Audi. Of course, obviously, the older Peugeot was off the pace compared to the newer ones. The 8 car had several issues throughout the night and fell back. And then the 7 car had an incident in going into Indianapolis and fell back a couple laps. So this left 1 Audi and 1 Peugeot for the win. The only issue was Peugeot managed to use their other 2 factory cars as barriers, per se. They were blocking the Audi and let the sister car go away. However, Dr. Ulrich, being the spicy old chap that he is,
the flamboyant guy,
yes, he sent a pretty convincing text to Olivier Canal, the head of Peugeot Sport, pretty much stating in short and censored, let the racers race. And the Peugeots backed off, well, the Peugeots that weren't in competition, and Audi managed to win that race. 1 car versus 4 Peugeots. Now, this would be the last time that we'd see Peugeot, as they cited financial issues and they withdrew in early 2012. But never fear, Audi had a new competitor, and that would come along the ways of Orica Toyota Motorsport. And yes, that is right. Orica did back them.
Yeah.
So, as for 2012, Audi went in with 4 cars. Originally, I thought it was because if 2 cars crashed, they'd still have 2 cars left. But they also ran 2 hybrids and 2 regular diesels.
They were pretty much just recycling their year-old R18s, or the slightly modified year-old R18s.
Pretty much, the e-tron Quattro would feature a hybrid system on this one, where it'd have a flywheel. Whenever you brake, you dissipate energy from your car and slow down. However, this car does not dissipate the energy, it collects it. And whenever you reach, 75 kilometers an hour?
I have no idea.
It was something like that. Then that energy would actually activate 4-wheel drive, giving it a boost. However, Toyota could use that energy instantly. So Audi entered with their two different R18s, 4 cars in total. And Toyota entered with 2 brand new TS030s. And by the way, those 030 chassis are still in use, but not in racing. So, as for Le Mans 2012, it can be set up like this. Toyota gives early challenge, and then, believe it or not, surprise, surprise, a Ferrari collects Anthony Davidson in a crash.
That was a huge crash, too.
And it broke his back, didn't it?
Yeah.
It broke Anthony Davidson's back. And this was in Mulsanne Corner, too. And it was actually, again, it was an AF Corsa car, actually, this time. So it was another Ferrari. Talk about Ferrari's track record with LMP cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then going back to the restart, and I mentioned this in the Delta Wing video, The number 7 TS030 managed to punt, and that's the only way to call it, the Delta Wing into Corvette corner, and the Delta Wing slapped a concrete wall, and that was the end of that. And then the Toyota never really saw much more track action in 2012 after, let's put it like this, engine failure. And they did a lot of apologizing to the Highcroft Racing guys and Delta Wing. They did a lot. As for the rest of the race, it was pretty much an Audi show with cars 1 and 2, the e-tron Quattros, swapping the lead back and forth until Alan McNish, well, he got involved into a slight accident with a Ferrari. Again.
Again.
Yes. And again, another bad overtake move through the Porsche curves, and based off of Forza, it's very difficult to pass in the Porsche curves. And
Do not attempt. If you're a driver who races at Le Mans, you're watching this video, don't attempt that in your career.
Don't attempt Alan McNish moves. If Alan McNish would do it, that means you probably should not do it. Just saying. So,
rules to play by.
And at the same time, however, the number 3 Audi Ultra, again for the second time in the race, managed to go off in the exact same area and do the exact same damage to the exact same car. Like, literally, that crash mirrored the first one, didn't it?
Pretty much.
And so the 3 car and the 2 car were both in the garage at the same time. The 4 car had some slight issues early on in the race with clag building up in the radiators, and on the first pit stop they brought it in and put it in the garage and cleaned it out. But Audi finished 1, 2, 3, and 5, with the 3 Audi falling back behind one of the Rebellions after that little crunch. So Audi, for the second time in 3 years, had gained a 1-2-3 sweep at Le Mans. Now to 2013, the dark Le Mans, as I like to mention it as. And there's a very specific reason, and that's on lap 3. There was a major accident involving Aston Martin Racing driver Alan Simonson, who tragically lost his life, which is absolutely terrible.
That put a dark shadow over the rest of the race.
I cannot watch that race and not think about that. I really can't.
I mean, that would have been one of my favorite Le Mans, too, because of Tom Christensen and Alan McNish's last win there.
Yeah, and everybody really wanted the 2 car to win because that was going to be Dindo Capello's last year, the year prior, in 2012. So Dindo had retired, and they brought up young Loic Duval, who, well, not really young, but he came up through the Orca ranks and got swept up by Audi when Orca went over to the Toyota guys. And also they picked up Marc Genet from when Peugeot disbanded. So that year they entered a slightly altered R18, the R18 Longtail, as they called it. The back end of the car was extended a little bit, and it featured a dual end plate car, or dual end plate rear wing. Pretty much is the best way to put it. And the race sort of went like this. The 1 car dominated the early portion of the race until it had an alternator failure, and that put them in the garage for about half an hour, 45 minutes while they repaired it. And that means the 2 Audi sort of took charge, but the Toyota, they did put a valiant fight at the beginning of the race. I mean, that was really impressive. Everybody was surprised by that. Oh, not to mention, in 2012, the ILMC was disbanded, and they brought in the World Endurance Championship.
Which still exists today, by the way.
Yes. Well, at the time of recording of this video, and it's still going strong, and it's even better than F1.
No, well, better, like, I'd say better racing-wise, but rating-wise and attendance-wise, of course, it's not that high.
But still, all around, though, it's still better.
It is on the rise, which is good to see.
And it's more technological advanced because you don't have some 80-year-old bat that's really been out of touch for many years.
No.
That's the only way to put him, is an old bat.
I mean, LMP1 is pretty much the premier place to find innovation in race cars nowadays. It used to be F1, but now F1 is so heavily restricted of what engine you can use, what size wings you can use, how you can uh, use hybrid energy. They have the what is it, the ERS to it's like a simplified hybrid system, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And
WEC, there's a lot more diversity, especially in LMP1.
And also, you don't have Mercedes winning every week.
Yeah, well, I mean, unless you want to count Porsche winning
How?
uh,
Yeah, true.
six, eight, 6 out of 8 races last season, but still. At least Audi kept up a fight. That was really interesting to see.
At least it wasn't people asking the question which Mercedes is going to win this week.
Yeah, I mean, Audi put up a strong fight in all the rest of the races,
And
which is nice to see. There were some insane battles to watch.
but we're not up to 2015 yet. So 2013, Toyota put up a very strong fight in the early part of the season. Or season. Well, yeah, they did put up a strong fight in the early part of the World Endurance Championship as well. But in the early parts of the race, they showed really, really great potential. However, they just sort of falled off during the later portion of the race, and also the Audi had the advantage of rain, which we've seen pretty much makes of every GT car go off in one corner.
Yep, I remember that.
Let's see,
And
you had a Corvette go that way, an Aston go that way. There was a Ferrari in there somewhere, and then a Porsche was later on down the road. And this was also the first year that we've seen a factory Porsche car and GT for the first time since '98. And Porsche announced their LMP1 program at Le Mans 2013. Just a little fact there, but the race sort of played out like this: Audi, the one car had its alternator issues, and the two car just led for the rest of the race. But the 8 Toyota managed to close up the gap quite considerably, and then the 3 and the 7 Toyota and Audi, the 3 Audi and the 7 Toyota, they put up a really good fight for third place. Like that was one of the highlights of the early morning hours of the race. Until
I don't remember that one, but there's something to look into, I guess.
It was a good fight until the rains came and Nicolas Lapierre went crunch. And call it bipartisanship, but Lapierre, he did walk more than the legal limit away from the car, because at Le Mans there is a limit on how far you can walk from the car. And he went further than that, but yet the officials let him get back in his car and get back to the garage. Maybe because the team was run by Orca, but
Well, basically, the way that rule works, for anyone who doesn't know, is if you crash your car and you walk, I think it's maybe 10 feet away from it,
10
maybe
meters.
10 meters away from it.
It's considered abandoned.
Yeah, it's considered abandoned, and you're supposed to retire, or the car's supposed to be automatically retired.
But that did not happen.
The way that rule works.
Again, the officials can be biased.
Yeah, haven't we seen that this season?
Oh. 5 millimeters. Sorry. I got some bullshit caught up in my throat.
Me too.
Yeah. So, Audi managed to win that race and secure a first and third, while Toyota managed to break the string of hybrid and diesel, or the hybrid diesel and regular diesel streak at Le Mans of clinching all 3 spots on the podium since 2007. As for 2014, we had a new competitor in Porsche with their 919 hybrid, the first generation of it, and then the Toyota TS040. So going into Le Mans, Toyota had a very strong advantage this year, and Audi had a very miserable start to the season, including both cars not finishing at Silverstone. As for Porsche, they were just sort of the middleman almost. So going into Le Mans, Toyota dominated the race. They really did. And Audi and Porsche were just scrapping it out, which was a great fight between the two. However, the third Audi got taken out in an early race rainstorm that claimed it, a Porsche, a Ferrari, and the Audi.
The Toyota? The number 8 Toyota?
Yeah, the 8 Toyota decided to aquaplane. And by aquaplane and decide, I mean he decided to go full speed on the Mulsanne while it was pouring down rain.
Smart man.
which we've seen this before, Peugeot. So that pretty much took the 8 car out of the race, and per se. They got it back, but the 3 car was done. And so that left 2 Audis, 2 Porsches, and 2 Toyotas in the race. However, the 14 car had some slight issues early on. I think it was a fuel pump issue. So effectively, 2 Audis, 1 Toyota, and 1 Porsche that could win the race. In the early morning hours of the race, after leading the entire portion of the, or a majority of the race, if not the entire race, the 7 Toyota had, and so you saying these old numbers really, but the 7 Toyota actually caught on fire. A wiring loom caught on fire on the inside, and it was not a Toyota part. It was an FIA mandated thing. It was something the FIA added, and that caught on fire and took them out of the race. So now it was pretty much an Audi show because the 20 car just didn't have the pace of the Audis at Le Mans. However, their chance came when both Audis had turbo failures and both cars had to go in the garage and get their turbos replaced. And this left the number 20 Porsche with only 2 hours, if not under 2 hours to go in the race, with the lead. However, Porsche would have a major failure and a heartbreak for Mark Webber, too. And the car would pretty much, the engine died on the Mulsanne straightaway and he limped it back on hybrid power. The 14 car also had a similar issue shortly after, and, well, it was pretty much day done for Porsche. And at that point, everybody knew Audi was going to win. And Toyota managed to crawl their way back up into third. Now, without a doubt, if that 8 car had not crashed, it would have won the race. Because that car was
for
flawless.
sure. That thing was like 4 laps ahead.
That thing was flawless. That
just like another year that Toyota was leading for quite a while, and then had issues.
Not yet. As for 2015, Porsche decided to bump up their effort and run. Oh, and Toyota won the championship, so now Toyota has numbers 1 and 2, and they decided to keep their car essentially the same as 2014 while Audi and Porsche redeveloped their cars. And Toyota just wasn't in it. They just were back. So as for 2015, it was an Audi and Porsche show, both with 3 cars, both just fighting it out, tooth and nail, hammer and tong. And let's just put it this way. In the end, it was the car that had the least amount of issues. Because I know the 17 Porsche, it had a major penalty in the night. Then the number 8 car, it had a very, very, well, it had an accident that pretty much took it out of the race early on. There was a slow zone issue, believe it or not, where the cars ahead were still slowed, but yet everybody else had been given the green flag. So it was a major issue with the slow zone procedure, and the Audi got collected and hit the wall and pretty much was taken out. So that left the 9 and 7 Audis, and the number 18 Porsche had brake issues in the night, which set them back quite a ways. So it was pretty much 2 Audis, 2 Porsches until the morning hours when the number 7 car had the rear bodywork blow off, which that was weird. The rear bodywork literally blew off the back of the car, or at least a section of it. And that was pretty much the end of the 7 car. And then
how many hours to go was that with?
That was that was just after sunrise.
Oh, all right. Because I know last year, I tried to stay up all 24 hours, and I fell asleep around 6:30 a.m. and then woke up again with about a half hour left in the race.
And then the number 9 Audi had a hybrid failure that they repaired. And that pretty much was the end of Audi's attempt at Le Mans, which Porsche brought home a 1-2. However, the number 7 car managed to bring home a 3rd place. And then we moved to the story of 2016.
Hooray!
And Audi once again redeveloped their car.
To a very ugly car, for that matter.
They really set the cockpit back, really back. And so this year had a bullshit start. Like, really. It was a really bad start.
5 millimeters is enough to tick off the FIA.
Well, if it was 10 millimeters with Porsche, they'd get a pat on the back.
Well, I mean, I'm just wondering how many cars have gotten away with this in the past, because, I mean, you really have no idea. I mean, maybe it sounds like I'm overreacting, but do I have the right to be pissed that they didn't get classified because of a 5 millimeter difference? I'd say so, because it's really hurting their championship hopes for this season, but that's just me.
That's handing a win to Porsche right there, and I'm pissed off about that. But as for the other bullshit start of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, they started the race under safety car, and they kept it there for a full hour.
Thanks, Eduardo Freitas.
Brazilians.
Race director, if you don't know.
The guy with the really, really weird voice.
There, the monotone green flag is underway. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is green.
Green flag at Le Mans. The race is green at Le Mans. You gotta listen to his voice on.
Very monotone guy. I wish he was the voice of my GPS.
So, as for the 2016 race, once it finally did go green, well, shortly after, really, the 7 car had another turbo issue. So all of a sudden, now the hybrid Audis have turbo issues.
Yeah, and that kind of made me mad because Audi used to be the team that was a little bit slower, but they would wait for the other teams to have issues.
They were bulletproof.
Yeah, and nowadays they're the ones who are having the early race issues, and it's really just like, come on, what's this change all of a sudden coming from?
Yeah,
But,
and the TV commentators love to point it out too.
I know, very un-Audi like.
Yeah, so come on, Audi, get your shit together. And also develop race cars that look like race cars, not F1 cars with fenders.
I second that.
So that pretty much left the 8 car to fight 2 Porsches and 2 Toyotas. In the nighttime portion of the race, the one Porsche fell out of contention with a major issue where they had to pull the engine off. Don't ask me what the issue was. And then the 8 car had to come in and they lost a lap to fix fucking lights. And not even headlights, but number illumination lights.
Yeah, which the Ferrari later in the race,
The Risi Capitazioni.
the second place Ferrari later in the race, they had the same issue. And they only got a 20-second time penalty added to the end of their results. So, honestly, as an Audi fan, I would gladly take those 20 seconds over the 3+ minutes that they spent in the garage trying to fix it.
And it's over a small flipping LED light. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point where you just gotta, like, look at the ACO in the eye and just tell them, what the hell are you doing?
So, pretty much with Audi on the pretty much back foot of everything, the 8 car still plugged along until the early morning hours when it had to be pushed in the garage for a more serious issue. And they lost 7 laps. And then they were still 4th, however. And when everything looked to be the end of Audi's hopes at continuing their podium streak, we get to the last 10 minutes of Le Mans. And
I was tired as hell.
And actually, let's put it like this. 14 minutes to go, Porsche was losing a tire. And so, at this point, Toyota had the race won. And that one's gone.
I was happy for Toyota.
And it's gone.
Yep.
And Toyota, well, to put it in short of Kazuki Nakajima, I have no power, I have no power. That line right there will haunt Toyota for a very long time. 5 minutes to go, Toyota was about to snap their 20+ year losing streak at Le Mans. Well, not continuous years, however, you know. And it just went down to the crapper, and I still cannot believe it.
I felt so bad for them, honestly. That was not really... They were not deserving of that at all. They had the flawless race going, just like 2014 when their car failed.
Yeah, and both cars were pretty much flawless.
Yeah, they had a couple minor errors, but compared to the Audi and Porsche, we're spending
Well,
minutes on end in the garage.
actually, the
They
5
were
car
really
was
strong.
flawless. The 6 car had to be pushed back in the garage once to repair bodywork, and then they spun once. But other than that,
Yeah, other than that, it was a really strong race for them.
however, the Toyota did technically finish second, or yes, second on laps completed and all that. However, there is a rule at Le Mans that you must finish the race, or you must cross
Another
the.
bullshit rule incoming.
Huh?
I said another bullshit rule incoming in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so there's two rules. Once the leader crosses the start finish line, you have to finish the lap. So pretty much, if the leader is right behind you and he finishes Le Mans, you have to do another lap. And if you do not do that lap within 6 minutes of the leader, so if you do not complete the lap within 6 minutes, which is 200%, or 125%, I think. I don't know. You have to finish the last lap within 6 minutes of the leader crossing the start finish line. However, the Toyota managed to do this lap on full hybrid. And actually, I think they got the engine restarted, didn't they?
I don't remember.
It was either full hybrid or they managed to restore power.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure
I
it's
was
hybrid.
I was in such disbelief that I wasn't even really paying attention to that.
You know what? I think it was hybrid considering it was a 12-minute lap.
Yeah, it had to have been.
Now, how this affects Audi is, since he did not finish within 6 minutes of the leader, he was not classified as finishing the race, and Audi managed to assume the third place overall position.
Continuing the 17-year podium streak at Le Mans.
And
Which is good, but let me tell you one thing quickly. If the Toyota, number 5, the leading Toyota that of course broke down, if he did not cross the finish line before he broke down, technically speaking, he still would have been second, right?
yeah, he
Or
would have finished second.
if he didn't cross the finish line, like
Yeah,
if
if
he
he would
didn't
have
take
just
the
held back, he would have been able to finish. If he would have stayed behind the start finish line, and this is a good example right here. Sebastian Bourdais did this in Le Mans 2007. He was running second. He knew he wasn't going to win because he was quite a few laps behind the eventual winning Audi. So it was heavy rain though in this situation, but still, he just parked it on the front straight for about 5 or 6 minutes until the number one car completed its final lap and crossed the start finish line.
yeah, so that's just dumb to me. The fact that if he stopped like 100 feet before he did, he would have finished second. But you know what? I will take another podium for Audi, but still, it's just
And it would have been
crazy ass rules.
Toyota second and third.
Yeah, I know. That's just I don't understand the ACO and FIA's rules sometimes. They just make me question.
And this year their rule making has been especially questionable.
Yeah, it's like, come on, let them race. All right.
And go back to the first 2 seasons, 2 or 3 seasons. Now that was great, but the last couple of seasons, like their rulings have been sort of questionable.
I'm just frightened that it's going to turn to F1 in a few seasons where the slightest thing and you're booked for it.
And I mean, they don't have any rule communication, or well, they have a rule against communications to the driver during the race in F1.
Yeah, well, I just hope it doesn't get that bad. But anyways,
Yeah, so that's pretty much the Audi history at Le Mans.
a relatively happy one until you get to the last 2 years, and then
And let me put something
down.
straight though. For 10 years, or well, actually 9 years, Audi chassis were undefeated at Le Mans.
Yeah, which is really impressive.
And here's something else that's funny. I was born a week before Le Mans 1999. So I'm literally about a week older than Audi at Le Mans. So I'm good evidence of how long their podium streak has been going.
Dang.
So yeah, that's a little fun fact there.
But I'm going to speak on behalf of all other Audi fans in saying that I hope that next year Audi gets their winning streak at Le Mans back.
And I'm going
because
to
it's time to snatch it back again.
I'm going to speak for all Toyota and Audi fans, and probably not Porsche fans because they're benefiting the most from the rule book, but FIA, fix your shit.
Good luck, Toyota, for the rest of the season. If you guys win the championship, I'm happy for you. But I just want Audi to get their winning streak back at Le Mans.
And if you've watched this entire video, then you're a goddamn trooper.
Yeah, you know what? You should have them comment. If they see this part, have them comment something like bananas or...
Wait. Comment donut. Or wait,
Don't...
comment the 4 donuts.
The 4 donuts?
Yeah, get the reference?
No.
The 4 rings, the 4 donuts.
Oh,
yeah.
alright, yeah. Alright.
Yeah.
And you know what, if they do that... You know what, here. To every person that does that, if you comment that down below, I will subscribe to you. Alright?
Hey!
I think that's a good deal.
You haven't even subscribed to me yet.
Yes, I did.
Oh. Even for an up-and-coming YouTube channel, you know?
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
But still, that was the history. And I swear, it gets under my skin when you call me the Larry Mack of Le Mans.
Alright.
Because I don't know why it does, but I'm not that smart about it.
Well, I mean, you taught me quite a few things that I didn't know, and I'd call myself a Le Mans expert, but anyway.
Some
It's
more
2:30 in the morning just to end this. Oh my god.
more Le Mans history to come, and I think the next one is going to be the Porsche RS Spider.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So if you want to come back for that, you know.
Possibly. I mean,
there's going to be a lot of ALMS in that one.
Yeah, the good old days.
Oh, the good old days. So yeah, next one, Porsche RS Spider. If you want to come back for that one, you know, you can. That'd be interesting, actually. So anyways, that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. If you made it to this point, I owe you a flipping medal. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and peace.
Ciao, bienvenidos.